August in Greece, everyone wants to go to the islands, of course. Beautiful villages, amazing sea, incredible beaches, plenty of character. But sometimes it's not really like the picture-perfect Greek island, isn't it? Of course, here I'm thinking about how busy can be the Greek islands, sometimes even crowded. Try to make it the first 2 weeks, for example, of August in either Mykonos or Santorini. But what if I tell you that I have 5 islands in Greece which are absolutely stunning? You can visit them in August without the crowd or even being so busy. But let's start straight away with the first one. The first island I want to talk about is Nissos. This is a volcano island. Oh, interesting. Probably you heard about the volcano island being Santorini. But there is another one which is Nissos, which is absolutely stunning. And the great thing of this island is that actually you can walk inside the crater. And I absolutely love the experience. The land was so soft. You can also visit on the side 2 small craters that are still alive. But you can't walk inside, of course. Beside the craters, there are a couple of villages on top of the craters, which are absolutely another unique experience. The view you can get from there is amazing. In fact, one of the best in my opinion that you can have in Greece. On top of that, there is the main town of Mandraki. That's where the ferry arrives, which is another stunning coastal town of Greece. You can somehow actually compare Mandraki to Mykonos because the houses are actually built on the rocks straight into the water. But the difference with Mykonos is that you won't have the crowd. So you can have beautiful drinks, meals, even without booking a table. Can you believe it? I was there actually in the week of the 15th of August a couple of years ago, which is absolutely peak season wherever you go to Europe, and there was only one day very busy. That was the 15th of August. That's because there was the feast of Assumption of the Virgin Mary, well known in Greece as the Panagia, where mostly local people came to the island to Nissos just for that night, to visit the monastery, and then late in the evening to have dinner all together in a square inside the town. I had such an amazing, genuine experience where I could talk with the neighbors, and English is widely spoken, have a small chat with Greek ladies. Luckily I learned a little bit of Greek myself. Overall, one of my best time in 25 years of visits in Greece. And what about the beaches around the island? There are a few, probably not the best I've seen in the Greek islands, but still if you're there in the island for just 3 or 4 days, plenty of options. Talking of drawbacks, this island doesn't have an airport, which means you have to take at least a couple of ferries from Rhodos or from Kos, so it's not an easily reachable island, but definitely in my opinion pays off to spend a few days, even a week over there, especially if you're looking for an off-beaten island in Greece in August when everywhere is full. I actually made a video only about Nissos that I'm gonna put in the corner here, where you can see all of the amazing things and the beautiful places that you can visit once in the island. The next island that you should visit in August if you are looking for an off-the-beaten path place to stay is definitely Sikos, which is only a couple of hours by ferry from Chios. So if you want to go there, probably you can fly to Santorini and then you take a ferry in about 4 or 5 hours and you will be there. Also in this case, I spent 1 week in August about 3 years ago and I was not disappointed. Let me start with the positive of this island. First of all, this island has 2 old towns, the Hora and the Castle, which face each other. Beautiful towns that you can walk, discover, get lost. Recently renovated with beautiful squares and the typical Cyclades design, which means blue and white widely used, and a few nice bars and cafes that open in the evening to enjoy the cool time of the day. There is also a castle and a monastery that you can easily explore on top of a hill, and from there you get another incredible view of the archipelago. This is an island I particularly love also for my trekking time. I do love trekking and this island didn't disappoint. Actually, they organize a map with all of the possible paths that you can take, north or south of the Hora. You can reach all of these places with a local bus or you can walk there. I had an amazing walk actually in the south of the island that lasted about 5 hours. I didn't meet anyone actually I met when I reached the top of a small chapel, which is pretty unique if you think that I was there in August. And what about the beaches? Well, the beach of the harbour town is absolutely spectacular. It's sandy, it's wide, incredible water, very shallow, so it's perfect if you're traveling, for example, with kids. On top of this beach, you can visit other beaches in the island, but the only way to access that is by rented boat, and that's a little bit of a drawback. But in saying that, obviously you will be almost alone in whatever beach you're gonna visit. So what are the drawbacks of this island? First of all, access. Once again, you get 1 or 2 ferries a day top. Another drawback is that the harbour town when you arrive is not really the most spectacular one. I think it was actually built probably in the 70s, 80s, and the architecture that comes from those years is definitely something that you won't remember for a long time. So if you are more into the typical Greek character, I definitely suggest to book one of accommodation in Behoda, which is only 15 minutes by bus to the beach. And talking of accommodation, I actually left in the video description a list of all of the accommodation that I would suggest in every island that I'm talking in this video. You can also rent a car from small supermarkets in the harbour town, but it's more of a family business. You can't really book in advance, and August can be busy. I was lucky enough, I found it for a couple of days to explore the island, but it's really down to luck. Another island that I really enjoyed, completely off the beaten path, is Alonis, which you can find in the Sporadis, sort of center east of Greece. You can access by flying to Skiathos, or as I did 4 years ago, I flew to Thessaloniki, and from there I took a train and then the ferry from Volos to Alonis. Most of the island is actually a marine national park, which means you're gonna have spectacular snorkeling, or if you're into it, diving. And I feel like in this island actually I experienced the cleanest water ever. As you expect, also in this island there is a Hora, the old village of the island, which is right in the center south of the island. You can access from the harbour in about 15-20 minutes by bus, or obviously you can rent a car or a scooter. The Hora is the most beautiful place to spend actually the night there, where around 7 p.m. all of the small lanes get full of tables from the restaurant, so plenty of options also for dinner. The view from the top of the island is once again spectacular, and you can even see the other islands nearby. And now down to the beaches, there are a few of them which are absolutely spectacular. However, I was not impressed by the beach in the harbour town. I was actually staying in a little cove about 500 meters from the main town, and there was a fabulous small beach with a couple of restaurants, my place to be, where I relaxed for a few days and I played with my little one. What I didn't really like of Alonis was once again the harbour town, because it was built also in the 60s, 70s, 80s, so it's not really a place you call home about. So once again, Hora is the place to stay if you're looking into the typical island character. For Alonis, I highly suggest renting a car, because the bus system doesn't really work very well, it's not fully reliable, and it's not as frequent too. There are not as many car rentals in the island as you can expect, but I'm gonna put in the video description a booking website where I usually book my cars, and I've been doing that for the last 5 years with great success. And especially if you visit this island in July and August, of course they are not as busy, there are not also as many cars, so book well in advance. Usually you can cancel anyway up to 48 hours before the peak time, so in case you change your plan, you can get the money back. Island number 4 is Gabos. You may actually never heard of Gabos, but this is the southernmost island, actually the southernmost point of Europe. You can arrive to this island through Crete. So you take a ferry from the southern coast of Crete. In about 5 or 6 hours we will be in Gabos. There is not much happening actually on this island. In fact, there is not even a proper town. You can find a few restaurants, a few shops, but that's about it. Accommodation is also very scarce. I'm gonna put a link on my favorite one into the video description, or otherwise you can camp in the island. And there are a few beaches where camping is totally free. This is probably the island where you will find the emptiest beach of Greece even in August. It's still a secret to most, I must say, and I didn't want actually to include it into this video, but here we are as one of the best places to stay actually in August. Once you arrive to the island with the ferry, there is usually a synchronized bus that is going to take you from the harbour to the main beach, where you find a couple of accommodation and a couple of restaurants too, besides a wide area used for camping. And that's really the only bus that you can find in the island. If you want to experience more of the island, which I highly suggest, you can either do some trekking, or you can rent a car in Crete and go actually to Gabos with a car, which is honestly the best way to experience the island. Another great activity you can do is renting actually a kayak to explore the coast and the secret coves. Overall, Gabos is the most isolated island in Greece and probably in Europe. The fifth island I want to talk about is called Tilos, which is in the Dodecanese Islands. The easiest way to reach this island is through Rhodos, so you can fly there and then take a ferry. It takes about 4 or 5 hours once again to get there. I was there last year in early August, and I had absolutely a blast with my family. The Chorio, the old village of the island, is absolutely stunning. It's perched on a hill, and you can visit and get lost through the thousands of small lanes with tiny bars and restaurants. Definitely a great experience. There is also a Venetian castle castle on top of a village that you can explore. I personally didn't do that just because it was so hot during my visit, but if you can do it, go for it. There is a second village, it's called Mikrochorio, or small village in English. It's actually a dead village because nobody lives there. And a few years ago, actually, someone opened a bar that runs only from sunset time to late night. And it's actually a great place because there are no complaints from the neighbors about how loud can be the music. So if you're into a little bit of nightlife, you can take the bus from the harbour town, which is organized by this bar, so easy-going access. You can also decide to rent a scooter like we did, so you'll be more flexible with your time. Another unique thing of this island is that a few years ago we found the skeleton of a dwarf elephant, which was 1.2, 1.5 meter tall. You can visit a small museum where you see the skeleton as well as the full history of how actually an elephant ended up on this island. And you can see also the cave where this elephant was found. If you have a scooter, I also suggest to visit a couple of beaches that are on the northwest of the island, where, incredibly enough for August, you're gonna share this beach actually with just a bunch of people. If you compare that to what you will have, for example, in Mykonos in August, where you can hardly find a spot to put your towel, it's quite incredible, isn't it? This is to say that when people say that Greece and the Greek islands are absolutely packed in July or August, well, it depends on the islands that you're gonna visit. And for this reason, next week I'm gonna post another video of other mostly unknown islands that are probably a little bit busier than these ones, but comparable in my opinion to places like Santorini or Mykonos or Naxos, which in August gets really packed. If you want to know more about Tilos, I actually made a video just for this island that I'm gonna put in the corner here. I really suggesting watching it because you will be surprised by how beautiful is this island. And in saying that, I'm gonna close this video. If you're still with me, it means you appreciate the effort in making this video. Please put a like and follow the channel, because in the next few weeks I'm gonna talk more about Greece. So see you next week. Ciao, bye.